Welcome back to Be My Guest. Joining me on the line right now is Neil Forster, who has done a lot of things in his life. He's been a longtime Toronto concert and event promoter and co-owner of Grant's MMA Gym, but he's about to tackle something quite different here in the Toronto area, certainly Ontario area, that the MMA fight promotion has gone through various changes, and in fact, it had one of its major fight promoters ended about 7 or so months ago. So Neil and his group are putting together a card under the name of the Substance Cage Combat, SCC, and they're going to have their first card June the 29th, which is this Sunday. Saturday? Sorry, Neil, I got a little ahead of myself there, okay? Anyway, Neil, thanks for joining us today, and just tell me about Substance Cage Combat and why you felt the need to do this.
I think it's pretty obvious why we felt the need to do it. After speaking with Ken Hayashi, there's only one confirmed mixed martial arts card in the province of Ontario this year, and that's the UFC in September. Other than that, there's nothing else on his calendar for mixed martial arts, be it Bellator, be it, Support Fighting Series is done. There's nothing. So I've got this void. I've got these studs in my gym, and I know there's a group of studs throughout the province that are training day in and day out, spending all their hard-earned money to do something with themselves, and they have nowhere to showcase their skills.
You're fortunate that you're able to cobble together a bunch of your fighters from your gym to put this together. But beyond just that your gym, there's a lot of fighters out there that are looking to get fights, and you mentioned there's quite an absence of it. There's a dearth of it here. Some of these fighters are having to go out of town, and that's not always the best situation. What has been the response, both within your gym and just within the local MMA community, about the fact that a card is going to happen, and you're hoping this will be the first of many?
Well, firstly, within my gym, the response has been overwhelming. Obviously, I didn't just wake up one morning and say I want to do a card. We kind of discussed it internally, and I don't know what it is, but the guys in my gym, specifically the guys that are on the card that are fighting, they're just happy they have somewhere to fight. They're willing to fight for free if they have to, and they're just ecstatic that they now have an opportunity to fight in the province and showcase their skills. One of our guys is making his pro debut, and another guy is two of our guys are making their first fight appearances in Ontario. So it kind of shows exactly why we need to do something locally. The response when we went and announced this was overwhelming with all the gyms and within the sport. As the event's coming closer, I'm a little disappointed because it seems like the initial support and the excitement within the mixed martial arts community, the support's there, but I've expressed to everyone I need them to really go 110% with this, because it's not about me, it's not about Grant's MMA Gym, it's about the sport, it's about the fighters. So I'm a little, I can't be mad at it because, again, it's my undertaking, but the support's there. But I think people saying, yeah, we love it's one thing, but I need people to get, behind it more and push it.
And you see, it's interesting because you can look at when the UFC has come here 3 times. Certainly when they came here the first time, they had a record crowd of more than 55,000, and it was like the Super Bowl was being played in Toronto. A lot of people came to see it because they're true MMA fans. A lot of people came just to see it because they wanted to be there, see and be seen, or just experience what it was all about. And then it basically tapered off because they went from a big, gigantic, venue that can hold like 60 or 55,000 plus to a hockey-sized arena. And they're still getting decent crowds, but it is one thing to talk about the UFC, and there's another thing to talk about the local MMA, the grassroots. They are not the same. They're both showing the same type of product, but I think there's a great division, a great divide between what is the UFC and what is the local MMA fight community.
I tell people all the time, if you were to walk down Yonge Street and stop 10 people and ask them if they know what MMA is, they'd look at you like, what's that? But if you ask them what UFC is, they know what it is. UFC is bigger than the sport itself. And you're right, and I'm finding that. I kind of hoped that we'd get a little bit more of the general public kind of interest in this card. We're getting some, but nowhere near what I was hoping for. But that's fine. Look, it's an uphill battle, and we'll just keep plugging along. But this is why the province needs things like what we're trying to do. They need local fighters They need local gyms. They need local businesses to support this grassroots Ontario mixed martial arts community, and then it'll kind of spread out, I think, to the general public. But you're right. I mean, it's night and day between the UFC and mixed martial arts. So.
Now, have you been able to get any kind of support from the UFC, given the fact that the UFC they certainly have a Toronto office here, and whenever the UFC comes to Toronto, it's a big deal. Have they in any way been able to reach out to you and help you in any way, or is it basically they're dealing with their own product, you're dealing with your own product, and as I said, even though it's both MMA, it's really there's a divide between the two?
Well, I mean, obviously the UFC is very much into themselves in terms of their product and building that brand. Fortunately, because I do some work with the UFC through my other initiatives, and I do have both personal and business relationships with the fine folks over at UFC Canada, they haven't really gone out of their way to necessarily help me, nor have I asked, because I think there's a certain line there where you don't want to cross. But there's been some guidance. Definitely, I've asked them for some questions and some assistance, and they've been more than helpful. In fact, one of the UFC staff emailed me yesterday wishing me good luck, and he's going up to his cottage this weekend, so he won't make it. A couple of the UFC staff are actually going to come out to the fight card and watch it. So there has been some support as much as they can, but I respect the fact that at the end of the day, when you're a UFC employee, you have to tread carefully how much help you can give another organization.
Again, we're talking to Neil Forster, who's about to put on his first ever card under the banner of Substance Cage Combat, and it's this Saturday night in Toronto. Substance Cage Combat 1.0. Of course, that's the way the UFC starts at a lot of these things, by a number. Have you had some challenges in terms of like putting together, fights and maybe having some injuries? Because it often happens when you talk about the UFC, Bellator, whatever, right? They plan, they announce things, and then things change because fighters get hurt. Have you had that sort of challenge?
I have had that challenge. I can't express to you the amount of frustration I've had with that specific challenge. It's one of those things where that's where the UFC kind of shows their depth. They've got 400, 500 fighters, so when one guy gets injured, they can pull another guy in. I don't have that luxury, especially in a province like Ontario. We still just don't have that depth. But man, I'm down to 6 fights on the card. My main event got canceled over the weekend. Adrian Woolley has a hairline fracture. He's out for 6 to 12 weeks, so he's out. Then we had another fight on the card where one of the combatants' best friends passed away, so he mentally wasn't focused enough to fight. And I understand these things, and it's too tough because it's not like I can turn to somebody else and say, okay, you're going to fight, because they still need to get licensed. And in this province, it costs over $1,000 to get all your licenses done, and it takes 2 to 3 weeks to get your medical reports back from the necessary people. So I actually had to go out of the province, and I had to find 2 fighters out of Providence, Rhode Island, who got me their medicals back within 48 hours. I had to spend a few $1,000s in extra flight costs, but to save the card. But yeah, that's been the biggest frustration is these injuries or these various reasons why guys can't fight.
So again, the card is coming up this Saturday night. Are you basically looking to just run through the card, see how everything goes, and learn from what it is, the challenges you've had to this point, and then the challenges that you'll likely incur Saturday night, and then go forward for the next time? How soon would you expect to put together another card?
Well, that's exactly it, Perry. I'm looking to kind of run through this one. Let's see where we went wrong on a few things. What did we learn? What can we do better? What can we plan for? I definitely am not going to be one and done. We've been fortunate enough to get some corporate sponsors to help us underwrite the overall cost of this event, so the potential for a big loss is minimal. So it will enable us to do another card, and I've already secured sponsorships for our next card. So yeah, we're gonna give it another kick at the can. I was hoping to try and get another card out by the end of the summer, but I just realized it's not doable. There's just way too many hurdles and way just too much stuff that's got to get done. So we're planning to do another card around November.
Okay, one last question. It's a little inside the box here, but the Anderson Silva fight coming up next week against Chris Weidman, undefeated American. How do you see this fight going?
Man, you know what? Never bet against the champ, especially when the champ's name's Anderson Silva, so I would never bet against him. But something tells me Weidman's going to pull this one out. I mean, he's just a big body. He's a beast. He's young. He's hungry. I think it's a great story. he had a really rough past a couple of years back with Hurricane Sandy and his family, and, you know, his wife losing her job and having a newborn baby, being unemployed, having fought for almost 2 years. So it'd be a great story for him. I was with him. He was at our gym a couple months ago. I think he's going to pull it off. I'm going to call it for a second round TKO.
Nice. But you just pointed out something that's very important. I just want to wrap this up. But beyond the fact that we're talking about cards, we're talking about individuals. And a lot of these individuals, their passion is MMA, whether they're able to make it to the top or whether they're just fighting on a card in which they may not even make any money. All of them have their individual stories. And I think if you can separate, you know, the violence that some people may or may not understand, and you just look at it from a human perspective, all these guys have their own individual stories. And I think once those stories are able to be told, that becomes, to me, a big element of what the MMA is all about, what sports is all about.
I mean, and it's no different for me. I have two businesses I run, but my favorite day of the week is when I get to go to the gym and sit with the boys and watch them train and practice and, you know, sit down and hear them out and see what problems and trials and tribulations they're going through. And it's exactly like you said, man. There's a real human side to this whole mixed martial arts that people sometimes don't get a chance to see.
Last question. Has anyone ever told you, A, that you look like Dana White, and B, will you be wearing a Dana White-type suit for the event?
One, I have been told that I look like Dana White, yes, although I don't think I do at all. And two, I will not be wearing a Dana White-type suit. I'm not a suit and tie.
You don't have to wear the tie. You can
just on Saturday.
No tie, just like
shirt?
Just to wear the nice suit, the shirt, the open neck shirt. You don't have to wear a tie.
Well, you know what? Because people assume I look like Dana White, he's got his style of dress, so I've got to create my own kind of lane.
Good stuff. All right, thanks a lot, Neil. Look forward to seeing you Saturday night again. That's Substance Cage Combat 1.0 in Toronto at the George Bell Center, excuse me. Good luck doing this, okay?
Thank you. And just quickly, tickets are still available at ticketbreak.com, and there'll be tickets available at the door at the box office.
All right, tweet me later on and I'll retweet it. How's that?
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.